I have with me David Patman. He is a progressive host and executive producer of the nationally syndicated radio and TV program, The David Patman Show. And I wanted to talk to David Patman. He is a David Patman. He is a David Patman. He is a David Patman. He is a
Can you remind the audience, when you talk about being a beta male and being an alpha male, what are we talking about here?
There are males, most men today.
Yeah.
Male, they think and act like a woman. They're emotional. They are mentally off. They have no logic. And that's a beta male. They go along with homosexuality.
Hold on, just well, we gotta, that's a lot. That's a lot. Hold on.
We with everything that's raw. Abortion, they think and act just like a woman. A beta male does. But another beta male doesn't, because he's a logical thinking. And they're controlled by the doctrines of David Patman. He is a beta male. 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 A beta male.
Look at that. 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 That is freaking predator right there.
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you? This is just a stupid. This is just a stupid.
Sure.
This is just a stupid. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. This is just a stupid. Look at that. This is just a stupid. Look at that. This is just a stupid. Look at that. This is just a stupid. Look at that.
Alex Jones is lying to you. That might come as a shock.
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man. This is just a stupid. 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 Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. This is just a stupid. 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 Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that.
Trump was doing this with his personal toilet. But sinks, toilets, and showers.
Elements in bathrooms.
10 times, 15 times.
Sure.
Elements in bathrooms.
We're looking very strongly at sinks and showers.
Sure.
Elements in bathrooms.
10 times, 15 times.
Elements in bathrooms.
What on earth is going on with Trump and toilets? Trump's White House toilet would be clogged with documents that Donald Trump was flushing down the toilet.
Sure.
Is this the explanation? Is this the explanation?
Big massive dump.
Elements in bathrooms.
10 times, 15
Trump was doing
times.
this with his personal toilet.
Elements in bathrooms.
And showers.
Big massive dump.
Elements in bathrooms.
Duty. 10 times, 15 times. Not me,
Elements in bathrooms.
God bless the United States. Thank you very much.
Elements in bathrooms.
Well, welcome everybody. We are really in the thick
and the wide of the 2022 midterms. Tonight, we have a very important debate in what is the race that, quite frankly, oh, I'm muted. Oh, God. Oh, not again. Oh, no. Not this again. Dear God. These people don't know what the hell they're doing. No, I'm kidding. I know I'm not muted. For once, I actually have somewhat of a grasp on what's going on technically. This, quite frankly, this race could decide whether Democrats or Republicans control the Senate in 2023. This is the Pennsylvania Senate. Tonight on Newsmax, they will have the Republicans debate. And that includes Mehmet Oz. That includes Dave McCormick. And the three other people whose names I really, really struggle to remember. And that's okay. We're going to find out what their names are. We've got about a half hour till it starts. And I have so many things to talk about with you guys. So I am truly, truly, truly glad that you're here. Where to begin? Well, let me start with some thank yous. I want to say thanks to the infamous Small Fuzzy Moss, arguably the best moderator we have, except every other moderator disagrees, Green Man, and Symbolic Gamer for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Very much appreciate that. And yes, the coupon code Obamna is live today. Now, who has Donald Trump endorsed tonight? It's not even clear he knows.
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
Okay. He's endorsed Dr. Oz. That's who he has actually endorsed. And that one he seems to have somewhat of a sense of. So that's who is Trump's pick. Trump so far getting a win in that J.D. Vance, who is actually the person that he endorsed, won last night in Ohio. Nina Turner lost. I believe J.R. Majewski, or is it is it J.P. or J.R. Majewski? J.R. Majewski? I interviewed him. Yeah, he's also the winner. I interviewed him, and he was endorsed by Scrumps as well. So, so far, Trump is like 2 for 2. I thought David was going to stop calling him doctor. You know, the tough thing about that, Symbolic Gamer, is that not everybody knows who I'm talking about if I only say Mehmet Oz. So I'm sort of trying to... It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. But we're doing absolutely the best we can with it. Thanks to H. Rochester, Jen here, and Nick Levin for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Really appreciate that. Also want to say a big thank you to Kevin Gouldy, who has just gifted a subscription on my website. That's number 7. And that subscription goes to Billy Boyle. Billy Boyle. Some know him as JP, but I know him as Billy. If you want a free membership, it's davidpacman.com/free membership. Don't email me. Just go to that website. That's the place to do it. Okay, let's get into some material here. Where to start? Oh, okay. This is interesting. This is Dave Rubin's big brain take on the Roe v. Wade decision. Listen to this. See if you can spot the problems.
The key part of all of this, it says, and to ensure that our decision is not misunderstood or mischaracterized, we emphasize that our decision concerns the constitutional right to abortion and no other right. Nothing in this opinion should be understood to cast doubt on precedents that do not concern abortion. In other words, if another case makes it up to the Supreme Court, they can't look at this case and say this has anything to do with, say, gay marriage or civil rights or anything else. So there's no...
Well, Ben Shapiro disagrees. Dave's good friend, Ben Shapiro, with whom Ben Shapiro may think that Dave is living in sin and going to hell, but they're just friends, you know? Ben Shapiro actually thinks Obergefell, the Obergefell case, which legalized gay marriage, that was also wrongly decided. So it actually may be next.
Reason to believe that suddenly they're going to be coming for civil rights, that suddenly you're going to have laws.
Oh, they're literally saying it. Charlie Kirk said today, if we can overturn Roe v. Wade, Anything is possible.
That stop black people from doing something or from gay people from doing something or anything else. Now, I can see already what's going to happen here, that there's going to be all of these people screaming about gay marriage. So let me just say a couple things about the gay marriage thing. First off, if you remember before June of 2015, when the Supreme Court decided the gay marriage case, it was happening across the states. Can we check on that? How many states had gay marriage passed already by the time the Supreme Court did it? I think it was 20-something states. Remember, if you remember that year, there were states that were just going ahead and doing it properly, state by state by state. And then the Supreme Court got involved and said it is a federal right. Now, the difference is that in the Supreme Court's decision on gay marriage, they talked about specific clauses in the Constitution that were the basis for the law.
They did in Roe v. Wade as well. Not everybody agrees with it, but they talked about that in Roe v. Wade as well.
Which Roe v. Wade did not have.
That's untrue.
Roe v. Wade just said, hey, it's a constitutional right to have.
No. Roe v. Wade also was based on, was it, correct me, wasn't it right to privacy based on the 14th Amendment? Can people in the chat fact check me? He may disagree that it was correct to do that, but it was also based on the Constitution. People are saying yes. Come on, guys. I mean, this is very low quality. It's a very low quality take. I would have expected marginally better from Dave Rubin. So anyway, that's Dave Rubin's big brain take based on something that is wrong. It's just wrong. It doesn't make any sense. I want to say thank you to Tommy Horswill for gifting a membership on my website. You're number 8, and that membership goes to Nancy Harn. Thanks also to Jay Tandaway, Alice Maravillas, Slingblade for the Twitch Prime subscriptions, putting us at 11. Should we continue with content? Do we want to do content today? I know it's copium for me to say, actually, it was based on the Constitution. All right, let's continue. Here's a couple on a flight that were using homophobic slurs, and then the woman starts praising Elon Musk. This is pretty weaponized stuff.
You don't like the words coming out of my mouth.
Okay, so pretty much.
No words. No words. Free speech is dead. Excuse me. Didn't do anything.
We all know that being able to make it through a domestic flight is based on debating the First Amendment with flight attendants. We know that.
We're not coming off. And you're going to have to take everyone off. This is ridiculous. You guys see what's happening in America? You didn't like what he said, and now we're getting kicked off a plane. And all of you are going to have...
We're getting kicked off. All of you are responsible.
Wait, this is fucking outrageous. You guys, we're going to turn into China. It's coming. Cheep, cheep, cheep. Clearly, the president or the mass people didn't like what I said. Really? Oh, I love Elon Musk. He is the best. Elon! He is the fucking king. Because the mass people in our row are kicking us off the plane. Kicking us off. You know what? It's a beautiful day. I'm happy to stay one more night. I am suing you. What is your name?
Oh, when they start with the lawsuits. Do you think any of these people that claim they're about to sue people are ever really sue anybody? Would they even know who to call?
Sir, I'm suing you, and I'm
sue the people in row 24. Ma'am, I'm an accountant.
Buddy, I can't
and I'm
money
suing
in
the
you.
airline. Oh my God! I have nothing to do.
Oh, I'm offended.
I used to dance on Broadway, and I'm not getting that fucking vaccine.
All right, very, very sick woman. So we got that. Here's Elijah Schaefer, who is telling Native Americans to get out of America. That's weird.
Yeah, Native Americans, get the fuck out of America. You're on stolen land that you stole. And you want to know why Manifest Destiny happened? Do you know why we took it back? Because we couldn't live with you on the land because you guys kept declaring war on us and kept declaring war and trying to take back land that we already traded and or bought from you. And you did not understand property rights because you were savages. And that's why you got the name that you did.
Oof. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's not even worth, guys. Let's just not even. I think we're just going to not even. Here is Don Jr. He has an idea. Go and buy Trump Gold Card. Yeah.
Donald Trump Jr. here. I'm reaching out today because we're about to finalize our Trump Gold Card membership roster, and I wanted to give you one last chance.
This is the last chance, guys. The rolls of the Trump Gold Card are almost full. They have almost no slots remaining. And this is this is a take it or leave it, guys. You either get the Gold Card or you don't.
Be a part of history with us. Gold Card members are made up of my father's most reliable supporters.
Right.
And I know he'll be disappointed if you're not on the team.
Yep.
When you join, we'll even send you a personalized Trump Gold Card.
Right.
It'll drive the libs crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the things that really fires me up, it's not when abortion rights are ended. When I see these Trumpists enjoying their Trump Gold Card, I just get triggered as one of the libs. I can't take it.
Please activate your membership today before it's too late.
Oof. I can't even watch it. It's too triggering for me that Trumpists might get a gold card. Here's Candace Taylor. She's running in Georgia. I guess she's running on ending a satanic regime. This is actually, I should even talk about this. This is crazy enough that I should talk about it on the podcast. This one's wild. Look at this.
Notice what they wanted to do. Some might even say they had to get our permission to at least tell us ahead of time.
Oof.
Even if we didn't believe them. Over 4 billion people have been injected with something that took just 9 months to create. Ask yourself why.
By the way, I want to take this as an opportunity to clarify something. The other day when we were reviewing this woman's debate, she pronounced the word that it's known to me as children, chowdrin. And I said, I don't know if that's a Georgia accent or an educational thing. And a bunch of people wrote to me and said, David, you shouldn't make fun of accents, of regional accents. Accents aren't an educational thing. That I wasn't. What I was saying was, I don't want to make fun of an accent. What I'm saying is, I don't know if children is just the way they say children in Georgia, in which case, fine, that's just a regional accent. Or if it's something about this woman having some kind of weaponized speech. I wasn't making fun of, I wanted to make sure I wasn't making fun of the accent. And people wrote to me and they were like, David, that's not okay.
Back in biblical times, human sacrifice was a form of demonic worship. We're still doing it in present day by killing our unborn. It's the same demons, it's the same sacrifice, it's the same sin. It's just a different time.
This is a long shot in and of itself, running for governor against an incumbent. Why are you doing this?
If we don't call things out, and we don't acknowledge them, and we don't take authority and take dominion over what God's given us.
The word dominion even is a dog whistle to a certain strand of Christianity. This has a Q vibe to it.
Then we are no better than the evil ones that put it up. We've watched as people have destroyed our history and monuments, and in their place, they have erected statues to their own gods. The New World Order
anyway,
is here.
New World Order. Yeah. So this is pretty standard stuff. Unfortunately, we're very familiar with that kind of nonsense. Here's Bill Barr saying that the leaker of the Supreme Court opinion might have committed criminal obstruction of justice. Now, that's not true.
What about this Marshall investigation? I mean, I'm having covered the High Court for a few years. I can say the Supreme Court Marshall investigating you isn't the sentence that strikes fear in the hearts of men and women. Now, the FBI, because CBS is reporting that there may be an FBI investigation into who leaked this, that's a different story. That's more your purview. So what do you think happens from here? Who actually will take the helm?
Well, I think that the chief would have had the option, and perhaps he still will, to appoint a counsel.
Yes.
a special counsel.
We need a special counsel over the decision being leaked 3 weeks early. I actually think we need 12 congressional hearings, too.
Classical criminal sense, but the court can appoint a counsel, and he could bring in a former U.S. attorney or someone with a criminal law background. And I'm sure he would get the support he needed from the FBI or any other law enforcement agency.
What's your confidence that they can get to the bottom of who leaked it?
I think they may need a grand jury to do.
Could we get to the bottom of like taking rights away from women? That I'm more concerned about that.
That, which would mean a criminal case.
Wow. Why?
To compel the truth.
Yeah. Because people will lie to the marshal and maybe not to a prosecutor?
How cute.
Perhaps.
Well, that's the thing. And people are talking about it online, though. Is this a crime? To me, I mean, it's clearly unethical. And if it was a lawyer, they should be disbarred immediately.
Right.
But what crime could this possibly be?
Well, it could be obstructing the administration of justice, the due process of justice.
Yeah, I've not seen anyone else make that claim. Also, what's with this delivery? It seems very affected, this kind of whisper. Get
vaccinated.
Yeah. It's kind of a whole thing. Barr seems disoriented, to be perfectly frank. Here's Dave. You know what? I'm going to skip Rubin, actually. Here's Steven Crowder complaining that only unattractive women complain about abortion.
Ow! Well, especially the first one. It's like, what? You worry about guys? You don't have to worry about that.
No. Well, that's what I have a theory. It's always really, really unattractive women who, for example, they bitch about catcalling. They bitch about abortion. And here's the thing. I know there are plenty of attractive women who believe in the right to abortion. That being said, women who are attracted, this is just a theory. Just to be clear, this is
it's actually not a theory, but okay, it's more of a hypothesis.
This is just conjecture, okay? I'm not a doctor on ugly chicks. No. They look like, because attractive women who support abortion, they still, they're often because they can sleep with whoever they want.
Well, they're interested in the choice.
But they're predominantly concerned with usually attractive women like, hey, I'm not a slut. You know what I mean? That's like, hey, I'm not a slut. So they typically don't want to go out and shout their abortion. These often women want to be like, look, so everybody wants to catcall me and I'm having so much sex that I have to have all these abortion, you guys. And everyone's like, right.
Sure.
Ooh, this is an illness. These people are very, very sick. L Diner Productions says via a very powerful super chat. So if they vote to overturn, I think my mic's about to collapse. If they vote to overturn Roe v. Wade, can't Biden be a stopgap? Not in any way that I'm aware of. Jack says, David, did you hear Dinesh D'Souza will be speaking at the Trump rally Friday? He's going to promote his film 2,000 Mules. I may have to cover that. We'll have to see. I may have to cover that. A couple other things here. Here's Candace Owens talking about the freaks, predators, and pedophiles who hide under the LGBT flag.
Right. I mean, I'm a big believer, and I've said it once and I'll say it again, that there are freaks, predators, and pedophiles that are all hiding under the LGBT flag, right? They're waving the flag and going, oh, we're this queer or whatever, but, and in reality, this is a perfect place if you are a child predator for you to hide. And what better place than
It's kind of not. Because Republicans for decades have been claiming that gay people are pedophiles. So it's actually an incredibly stupid place to hide. That's where every Republican is looking because that's what they think. It is really something else. Okay, so that's very dumb. Bennett Walker asks, is it possible the leak was intentionally done by a Republican to generate a distraction story? Anything is possible. We just don't know, and it's all speculation right now. So I can't say anything more. And then lastly, here's Greg Kelly from Newsmax saying systemic racism doesn't exist because there are interracial marriages.
And oh, by the way, I think this is interesting. I also think it's great. They're all, three of them are in great committed relationships, and love is love, and it's beautiful that they found partners. I don't care what race they are, but I am going to point out that Jonathan Capehart happens to be with a white man, and that's wonderful, but it does undermine the whole idea that this is a systemically racist country with white supremacists everywhere. Same goes for Maya Wiley. Her husband is not black, and Kimberly Atkins Storr. Same goes for her. And oh, by the way, the two most prominent black women in the country are married to white men. Ketanji Brown Jackson, didn't hear much about that, by the way. And who's that? The second gentleman, Doug Elliman, somebody like that. Emhoff is
that's Doug Element.
Kamala's husband. That's great. Again, love is love. But it does undermine that whole notion.
The fact that 5 women are married to white men tells us anything about the country? That's very weird. Very, very weird. Looks like we're getting set up for the debate here. You've got the 4 candidates as well as the moderator. I'm sorry, 5 candidates and the moderator, Greta Van Susteren. That will be starting soon, very, very soon. I want to say thank you to Jake Sorensen, who just gifted a subscription on my website and is new member number 12. That subscription goes to Eric Lane. Also, big thank you to Crudler and Bert for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. So glad to see everybody here. Our coverage of the 2022 midterm elections is really ramping up at this point in time. Multiple streams a week. I would love for you to support the 2022 work we are doing. The best way, the easiest way to do it.
And we will ban men.
No, we're not banning anybody. No, just get a membership on my website, okay? You can sign up at joinpacman.com. You can use the code OBAMNA, as you can see here, and that gives you a beautiful discount. You can also do it monthly, and we keep all but 2.9% of every dollar. YouTube doesn't allow that. Twitch doesn't allow that. Facebook, no way in hell they allow that. And if you have your own membership, you can check this box. And then we have 700 people who would love a free membership. You can gift one. Very easy. Very, very easy to do. And I will thank every single person who signs up today. Do I have any voicemails? Let's do one Whitney voicemail.
So I was listening to Amber Heard's message or her testimonial about Johnny Depp, about how he hit her because he was like super unclear, or she was super unclear about like his tattoos and stuff like that. But you see how like wound up people are about like their bodies, like when it's like, oh well, I don't really know what's going on with your body, and then
Man, I just don't know what she's talking about. What if the leak came from one of the 5 to make sure we get out the rage energy early to burn out for November? Anything's possible, Haley. I love that both Trump and Biden add the letter N to words beginning with O. Obamna and Omnicron. Nicely done. The leak came from the same BLM and Antifa members who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Exactly. David, when will there be warm food? I don't expect any. I think the debate is going to be start to finish. Welcome to Beezus BP and our friend Deeper Shades of House, re-upping Twitch Prime subscriptions. Really appreciate that. As you can see in the polling, it is tight between the top 3, but Mehmet Oz, a quack TV doctor, is in the lead. I want to say thanks to Saeed Al-Mohanadi, I hope I pronounced that correctly, as well as Amelia Romero for the website subscription, signing up at joinpacman.com. Appreciate you very much. Very, very, very much. Okay, wait. Oh, real quick. So this happened. I was on the right-wing show Triggernometry. As expected, their viewers are very upset with me. Typical leftist who mischaracterizes the right. You gave Pacman way too much room on trans. This guy is a smug shit. Anyway, it would be great if we brigaded this video and just left beautiful positive comments about my appearance, only because obviously they would never expect that. Let's look at a little bit of this. Let's look at, I don't know. Let's start here and look at this topic.
Well, before I come to the cultural stuff and maybe the immigration point you make as well, you mentioned that you thought that Joe Biden was the better option at the last election.
Yeah.
What have you liked about the Biden administration? And are you still of the view that that was the right choice in terms of voting for Biden?
From the 2 options, it was the right choice. I mean, to speak candidly with you, gentlemen, Donald Trump was a humiliating embarrassment. I mean, just the promises he made, none of them were kept. You know, he was going to build a wall. He didn't build it. He was going to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Jared actually was going to solve it, his son-in-law. As you know, it hasn't been solved. He was.
I mean,
going
there
to
was a lot of progress on that. Would you concede that?
I don't. Well, what progress was there?
The Israeli foreign minister turning up in Saudi Arabia. I mean, all of that stuff and better relations between the countries in the region. Did you not feel that that was some progress?
What changed materially, though?
Look, maybe let's not spend too much time on it. So
well,
you
did
don't
anything?
think
I
you
guess
made any progress?
let me put it this way: did anything change materially?
I think it's quite a difficult situation to change materially in the course of a 4-year presidency, but
so it didn't. That's fair. Okay, we agree. It didn't change materially. They did do some optics things. You know, there was a flight like from Tel Aviv to UAE, but I think we're on the same page. We can't. Neither one of us can identify anything that changed materially. Is that fair?
What I would say is I think some progress was made in a very difficult situation. I don't claim that this.
Okay. Anyway, so that was one topic. There was another point where we talked about trans. Let me see here. Let's listen to let's see, make sure we're not missing anything. Okay.
However, my issue is that
you know what? Let's get back to this after the debate, because I would love it for people to just brigade with comments during the debate.
I'll relate to them as a woman.
Back at it. And we'll look at some of the comments you guys leave. Oh, wow. A bunch of comments have already been added. Very intelligent and well-spoken man. UV Lightning. Beautifully done. Beautifully done, UV. This guy is absolutely inspired. Awesome points from... Oh, God. This is the best. Wow, David Pakman is so handsome. All right. I mean, I'll take that. Wow, Pakman's really smart. Really makes you think, huh? Hey, you know what also would be funny? For people to go, I used to be a Trumpist, and I now realize the error of my ways. David Pakman has converted and deprogrammed me. Anyway, everybody do that during the debate, and we'll go back to this after, because I don't want to miss any. That's trigonometry is the name of it, okay? Trigonometry. I want to say thanks to Philip Nolan for the website membership. Philip just signed up on my website. Thank you so much. Also, thanks to Rachel Klein and Ali Prugar, who just gifted subscriptions on my website. Those are numbers 20 and 21. Those go to Erica and Mark. Erica Burke and Mark Ballantyne get free memberships. Free. Lastly, thanks to Bone Master J, for the Twitch Prime subscription. Really appreciate that. The debate starts any minute. It is 1 hour. Then we will get back to the trigonometry interview. Thanks to Alex Jarvis as well. Really appreciate everybody signing up. That we're just kind of streaming on a whim, but it seems that the 2022 stuff is interesting to people. The channel is Trigonometry. In fact, I can just post the link to this. Let me post it a couple of times on YouTube. And I'll post it a couple times on Twitch as we stand by for the debate. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, the debate is about to start, so we're not going to miss it. Everybody relax. Thanks to Stephanie Cripps for gifting a membership on my website. That one goes to Carson Meyer. We just go in order. If you ask for a free membership more than once, all the requests get deleted and you get nothing. Okay. We have 672 people waiting for memberships. We're deleting duplicates. You get nothing. That's just not the way the system's supposed to work. Okay. It's in order. It's just in order. Man, everybody wants to game every system. Don't even bother. You will get nothing. Nothing. Okay. Let's listen a little bit.
Take the lead.
Of course. This is what this race is, right?
I mean, I think a lot of people think, oh, well, the guy that's got the Trump endorsement, he's already in the lead.
God, I couldn't possibly care less about their analysis. I just want to see the debate. And we will be seeing that at any moment. Thanks to Sturman Ha for the Twitch Prime subscription. Very much appreciate that. What can you do if you're already a member? Yeah, you can gift now. We have this box. Is this a gift? If you don't have anyone to gift a membership to, I've got 672 people waiting. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Vote for America 2022. A special Newsmax debate. The Pennsylvania primary for U.S. Senate. Live from Kettler Auditorium at Grove City College. Your moderator, Greta Van Susteren.
Good evening.
Whoa.
And welcome to Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania. Tonight, we have the top 5 Republican candidates for U.S. Senate trying to gain the support of voters in this state. The primary is May 17th. Before we get started, a welcome message from the Grove City College president.
Right.
Good evening. I'm Paul McNulty, president of Grove City College. We're delighted to welcome you to our beautiful campus in Western Pennsylvania for this important political debate.
Yeah. More importantly, thanks to Rachel Klein for gifting another membership. Rachel's absolutely crushing it, and I'm able to give that membership to Sebastian Thorson. Very, very much appreciate you.
We're committed to academic excellence and affordability in our learning and living experience. Faithfulness to our 1876 founding purpose is one of our...
People are asking, is this going to be a cringe stream? Yes. Yes, this is going to be a cringe stream, that's for sure.
Elections are the cornerstone of representative democracy, and the college is honored to provide a forum for the thoughtful exchange of ideas at tonight's debate. We hope you find tonight's debate a helpful and informative...
I have no idea if this is a real college. I've never heard of it. That doesn't mean anything. I don't know if it's a real college.
And here are the candidates from left to right. Ms. Kathy Barnett.
Right.
Dr. Mehmet Oz.
Ooh, I don't know about including doctor in the
Ambassador Carla Sands.
Ambassador, I don't know. Maybe.
Mr. Dave McCormick.
Mr.
And Mr. Jeff Bartos. Now, the candidates' positions on stage were determined by a random drawing prior to the debate. All campaigns have agreed to the debate rules. We have divided the questions and topics to ensure the candidates have equal time. Not all candidates will answer every question. Answers will be limited to 1 minute or less.
Wow.
Rebuttals to attacks will be permitted if warranted. Also asking questions tonight, Pittsburgh's KDKA radio anchor, Rick Dayton. He's in the audience. Candidates, we have examined the polls about issues of greatest concern to voters, both in...
Why did she say candidates?
To better understand your proposed policies, we have looked at the information on your websites, statements you've made, your campaign ads, and the previous debate in which all of you participated. Now, we know that during the last debate, you spent a good deal of time on your Pennsylvania roots, so we believe this topic has been covered. Some questions will be given to all candidates. Others will be directed to certain candidates. All candidates will have equal amounts of time. So here's the first question. This is for all of you. Everyone is talking about the leaked Supreme Court draft. This decision could overturn Roe versus Wade. You have all said...
How many times would you kill the leaker?
...in favor of any exceptions for abortions. Have you changed your opinion over the years? If so, what has changed your mind? You have 1 minute. Ms. Barnett, you're first.
Thank you. Whether this was a leak or whether it was a tactical operation, we will soon figure out. But one thing is clear. I am so very grateful that our nation is now having a very important conversation, and that is one of the most important conversations that is about life. I am the byproduct of a rape. My mother was 11 years old when I was conceived. My father was 21. I was not just a lump of cells. As you can see, I'm still not just a lump of cells. My life has value. And that is one of the reasons why it was so very disturbing when I saw Mehmet Oz running for this particular race, when I've seen him on numerous occasions, and specifically at the Breakfast Club, saying that my life was nothing more than a acorn with electrical currents. I am wondering if the good doctor has now since changed his position on that. My life is valuable, and so are the many lives that find themselves in the womb of their mother, whether in the womb or towards the end of that life.
Dr. Oz, you have 30 seconds to respond. That was directed at you, sir.
You know, one of the toughest endorsements you can ever get is from your mother-in-law. And my mother-in-law is an ordained minister. She wrote a lot of the pro-life literature in Montgomery County where we live, and she certainly understands that I'm pro-life. As a heart surgeon, I've operated on small children, a few days old, and witnessed the majesty of their hearts pounding blood, even though it's ill, because I'm operating on them, through those bodies. I would never think of harming that child, or even 9 months earlier, because life starts at conception.
All right, Mr. Bartos, now your 1 minute answer to the question.
I'm pro-life, and Pennsylvania has a proud tradition of sending United States senators to Washington who are pro-life from both parties. We have a tradition of sending governors to Harrisburg from both parties.
This is the guy who in the last debate was just so boring. He was painful to listen to.
Is too important to trust from two people who are from Connecticut and New Jersey. I assure you, Connecticut and New Jersey do not have proud traditions of sending senators to Washington and governors to their state capitals who are proudly pro-life.
Dr. Oz, now your 1 minute response to the question.
I didn't finish. Sorry. I still have
Dr.
time,
Oz?
right?
You had your 1 minute.
That was 1 minute?
Yeah.
I'll yield my 1 minute to Jeff Bartos. I think I answered your question adequately.
Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds, Mr. Bartos.
John Fetterman has said with absolute clarity that he is going to Washington to make abortion legal on demand, anytime, any place. He has called abortion sacred. I will beat John Fetterman in November, and I will proudly take our Pennsylvania Main Street pro-life values to Washington.
Greta, I only had 42 seconds there.
Mr. McCormick.
Well, this leaked memo, if it becomes the court's decision, is a huge victory for the protection of innocent life. It's a huge step forward, and it also pushes the decisions down to the state level and voters where they should be. So we'll see if it becomes a ruling. If it does, I would embrace it, and I would be very, very happy about it. But I want to go back to Mehmet because I think that's not an adequate answer. If you go back to that Breakfast Club interview, which was 3 years ago this month, he talks about a whole different set of positions. He attacks the pro-life for picking fights. He attacks states that put in pro-life legislation as disrupting business. And this is something that...
Understand, McCormick is the one who has the most to gain by directly attacking Mehmet because McCormick's in second place right now, behind Mehmet.
Another example of you being phony in terms of the positions you're putting forward.
Ambassador Sands.
Before I get to my answer, I just want to thank Newsmax for hosting this debate. I want to thank you. And I also want to thank the gentlemen on either side of me for showing up because they don't come to many of our debates, as a matter of fact. One is Dr. Oz, and I think it's probably because he's what I call a minnow, and that's MAGA in name only, minnow.
Whoa.
So he's afraid. And then we have Mitt Romney McCormick next to me because when he's in the Senate, he would vote like Mitt Romney, and we know what that means. But as far as life is precious. I will always vote to protect life at the beginning of life and at the end of life. The person who leaked this document did it on purpose to intimidate the Supreme Court.
Remember, there's no evidence of that.
It is unconstitutional. It will now go back to the states. And this is a way, if it's true, that the people are empowered to make the decisions in each state. I support the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
Next, wallet issues. Polls show that the most pressing issue to voters is their wallet. Wages are rising, but prices are rising at a faster rate, meaning that people are losing money. Inflation is at an annual rate of 7.8%, the highest in 40 years. What specific policies would you promote to tame inflation? You each have 1 minute. Mr. McCormick.
Oh, this should be great.
Well, listen, as someone who's actually created jobs, and which is the primary goal of what we need to do in Pennsylvania is create jobs, I know a lot about this. And this inflation is killing working families. It's killing elders.
Tell us what you
need to do three things. We need to roll back the massive spending under President Biden. It's been a huge spike.
Deficit is down from Trump to Biden.
Of this inflation. The second thing we need to do is unlock our energy industry. A big part of the inflation is the rise in the cost of fuel. And what Joe Biden's done is taken us from being a net energy export.
That's a global issue that the U.S. can't fix by itself.
We need to unlock that energy. That'll unlock our economy as well and put inflation in check. The third thing we need to do is have pro-growth economic policies, make permanent the Trump tax cuts, and deregulate.
Those are actually deficit positive tax cuts.
Pennsylvania, that'll maintain our young people.
Man, these people are really dumb, really, really dumb. The Trump tax cuts raise the deficit. Biden has since reduced the deficit. And he's saying do the opposite of those things to lower inflation?
Administration is passing these multi-trillion-dollar big bad bills stuffed with Green New Deal policy that's hurting our Pennsylvania farmers and our energy sector. And this inflation that the Biden administration has caused is costing every Pennsylvania family more than $5,000. It's a hit in their wallet of $5,000. That's a lot of money. People are struggling to buy gas for their car and get groceries. They're having to make decisions.
Some of them aren't even offering a single solution, and the ones that are offering solutions that aren't solutions.
Pennsylvania, so that we're growing. It's really a turnaround. We've been going in the wrong direction for the last over 40 years.
Like, really ask yourself, after each of them answer the question, ask yourself, can I restate what it is they would do? What would they do?
Over 1,500 miles all across the Commonwealth. You mention a county to me. I see faces. I see stories. I remember their stories. I'm looking in their eyes, and people feel unnerved all across the Commonwealth. We all know that something has fundamentally gone wrong with how our nation is being ran right now. Biden inherited an inflation of 1.7%, and now is over 8% and climbing. I just talked to a farmer not too long ago. He said,
Is there a single solution in here? That was the question.
just to fertilize 600 acres of corn. Today, he's
Certainly a lot of manure here.
$20,000, and that is going to continue to go up. We have McCormick talking about bringing energy back. He and Oz, they're both globalists, and they have very strong ties to the World Economic Forum that was primarily responsible for convincing Germany to kill their own energy independence. And now they come before us talking about how they're going to bring energy.
Not a single policy proposal.
Dr. Oz.
Globalist, internationalist.
There are three major ways we can address inflation, much of it caused by overspending, throwing money in particular during COVID at problems. And we now know that much of it was fraudulently distributed.
Let's listen.
But now that we've got the problem of inflation, the highest we've had in 40 years, three things we can do. We can raise interest rates, which is what's being done. That's what Biden thinks we should do.
True.
It will ultimately result in our collapse of our economy, into a recession.
Collapse is too far.
Scarcity issues that are driving up prices. When the pizza guy needs Parmesan and mozzarella, he's got to pay more because he can't find it.
Mozzarella.
But the third option, the best option, because it's the major driver of inflation, is energy. And right beneath our feet here in Pennsylvania.
No. So the first thing was right. Raising rates actually does slow inflation, but if you do it too much, you'll get unintended consequences. The rest of this is garbage. We could put it in the trash with his drinkable silver.
That the Biden administration believes in a woke ideology around the Green New Deal, which is just a lie.
No. Woke has nothing to do with inflation.
Done in the time allotted, and yet that's their narrative, and they're not going to change their minds. So we're suffering.
Mr. Bartos.
Right.
I'm running for the United States Senate to save Main Street, Pennsylvania. And the Biden administration's energy policies, which are at the root of so much of the inflation we're seeing, are an insult to farmers, working families, and Main Street small businesses across all 67 counties.
5 candidates.
I spent the pandemic organizing a group to save small businesses. We raised $3.5 million, helped over 1,000 women and men keep the lights on, keep the dream alive of owning their own small business. We have out-of-state political tourists who have dropped into this state to seek this seat, to run for this seat. They don't know Main Street, Pennsylvania, and you cannot save Main Street if you can't find Main Street. But we do know someone who can find Main Street. John Fetterman can find it, and we know that because he spent the pandemic bulldozing Main Street, and he will do it again in the United States Senate. This seat is too important to send an out-of-stater who doesn't know us to Washington. I will beat John Fetterman, and I will fight for Main Street in the United States Senate.
No answers.
Penn State studied aging population in Pennsylvania.
There is no substance here. No substance.
Of the population. It is estimated that in the year 2030, 20% of the population will be over 65. Mr. Bartos, you're a Pennsylvanian who probably wants to retire in Pennsylvania. And Dr. Oz, you're a heart surgeon who has worked with elderly patients. Ms. Barnett, your website talks about more choices for medical care. How would each of you balance the budget while protecting seniors? You have 60 seconds each. Ms. Barnett,
Tell us.
Yes, we talk about balancing the budget, and yet that hasn't been done. We see our legislators going to Washington, D.C., and simply kicking the can down the road. It is about growing our economy. That is the best thing that we can do. That's the most effective thing that we can do, is begin to, if you want to shore up safety nets such as Social Security to be able to provide for individuals, we need to begin to grow our economy. And how do we do that? By stabilizing the U.S. dollar, by creating an environment where businesses do not want to leave.
Wasn't the question about health care?
Their jobs follow companies who are willing to produce here, locate here, and invest here. But in the environment in which we find ourselves, it's a very hostile environment. When you have Janet Yellen galloping all over the world and
Janet Yellen.
Wealth managers not to invest in America energy, how do you grow that economy? So that is what we need to do. We need America First senators who understand what it means to the benefit of stabilizing the U.S. dollar.
Mr. Bartos.
Obamacare robbed hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicare. And make no mistake, Medicare for All is on the ballot with this seat in November. Every Democrat running has said,
I wish that were true.
And they will ram through Medicare for All. The Democrats have said it. They will do it if they retain control of the United States Senate, and they will blow up the filibuster. Our senior citizens need a trusted fighter, a lifelong Pennsylvanian who knows how precious our senior citizens are to the lifeblood and the very fabric of Main Streets across all 67 counties. I'm running to save Main Street, Pennsylvania, and I'll be fighting for our seniors, and I will make sure there will never...
So his solution is to prevent Medicare for All, which already doesn't exist, so it can't be responsible for the current problems.
When I'm a United States Senator.
Wow.
Dr. Oz.
So I went to Wharton Business School to study healthcare finance while I was in medical school at Penn. And the issue with an aging population is you have to find ways of providing them not just traditional medical care, but preventive services, transportation to the doctor, someone to help with groceries. It's a more comprehensive need. What President Trump did, and it was very wise, was to build up Medicare Advantage, a mechanism of using the private sector insurance companies to provide more efficiency than Medicare could provide on its own. That has allowed almost half of the older citizens in this country to get access to a lot more services, much more comprehensively than it could have been otherwise offered. The other thing we have to do in Pennsylvania...
You know, it would be funny if the boring guy ran on, I'm the only man on this stage who won't send these types of eyebrows to Washington.
Positions in high schools around Pennsylvania, most recently in Wyoming County, where they're training young people to work building oil pipes, and it's fantastic. They can learn the electronics, they can become nurses at the facility, they can learn to drive the trucks, but these are the jobs we want our young people to have. Together, we'll make it work.
Sure.
For Mr. McCormick and Ambassador Sands, you both have experience in foreign policy. While the world is watching Ukraine...
Is Dr. Oz the bad guy from Spider-Man?
The U.S. is cautious to confront Russia because of its nuclear threat. What would you do to advise a president of either party on dealing with threats from any of these countries? You have 60 seconds each. Mr. McCormick first.
Well, I'm going to have to comment on two things. Kathy brought up the World Economic Forum. First of all, I've been a successful CEO of two companies. The one was in Pittsburgh, which created 600 jobs, the young people that Mem was talking about. The World Economic Forum is where CEOs gather. The last time I was there 3 or 4 years ago, it was with President Trump, where I attended a number of meetings where we talked about the America First agenda, which I participated in.
Right.
With regard to the 30-day fund, which, Jeff, thank you for what you did on the 30-day fund. That's great. But I think it's important for Pennsylvanians to know during that same time, you got a PPP loan for $200,000, which then you subsequently, a month later, bought a condominium in Palm Beach. And so I don't think Pennsylvania Main Street goes through Palm Beach. So I think we should stay on the issues. And the issues here are creating an economy that's vibrant for Pennsylvania and talking about what it takes to create policies and bring people back in place, keep young people here in Pennsylvania that makes the future bright.
All right, well, let me turn to the foreign...
You were supposed to explain how to do it.
The foreign policy question.
I was mentioned specifically.
Nobody answered the question.
I responded.
You both, I think, have made your points.
Well, I wasn't Palm Beach.
Okay, well, you're not Palm Beach.
200,000.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I should have a chance to address it. He called out my real estate. He called out my PPP
You'll get a
loan.
chance to
Paid
talk
my employees.
More.
My employees, by the way, were in Pennsylvania. His were in Connecticut.
So, as the U.S. ambassador to Denmark,
Guys, I actually like the boring guy the best by far.
Russia and China, while I was at Post, they couldn't hear me. So, let's give the mic. Can we turn up my mic, please?
Is someone yelling?
So they can hear me. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thank you. Let's start my time over, please.
We'll start you.
Thank you so much. As the U.S. ambassador to Denmark, Greenland, and the Faroe Islands, I worked from 2017 until 2021, countering Russia and China. We worked to do things like stop Chinese-made 5G and the company Huawei from being the chosen backbone for the Danish telecom system. We worked to counter Russia in the high north as well. And we did things like block that Russian gas pipeline. Our adversaries are serious. These are serious times. They require a senator who's ready on day one. There's no one else on this stage or even on either side of this race who has actually put America First policies in place, in action, doing it. They all talk about it. I've done it. We know that we have nuclear powers around the world, and we have a weak, corrupt, and compromised president in the White House. We need to send strong America First senators, congressmen, and in 2024, a president, because we know that peace through strength works.
Thank you, Ambassador.
And you can do that
Ms.
other
Barnett,
thing normally,
your
right?
website
The third
calls-
element of the bathroom.
Ms. Barnett, your website calls our immigration policy chaotic. And Mr. McCormick, your website says a country needs borders. Dr. Oz, you are the child of immigrants. Everyone is watching the crisis at the southern border. But what about the other significant immigration
so
problems? The
insanely
huge
dumb.
number of people who come to the U.S. and overstay their visa. How would you handle this other immigration problem of people who come to the U.S. and overstay their visas? You have 60 seconds each. First to you, Dr. Oz.
There's no point talking about any strategy with people who have snuck in here, as often happens, through airports and bus stations, but not through the southern border until we deal with the southern border. Because in the southern border, unlike the two other situations, we're funding a cartel that is running a human trafficking operation. And they have so much money that they make running people, human beings across the border, they can buy narcotics. And with those narcotics, which they run with the human beings that they're trafficking, they're able to allow Americans unknowingly to take fentanyl and die. This past week, that happened to the son of someone that was in my audience, and he was torn apart and angry about it, and understandably so. There is no question, if you have 100,000 Americans dying of opiate overdose, which happened last year, that's 4 times more than died of COVID under the age of 50. We got a problem. So the border is a profit center for cartels. Once we deal with that border and close that down, we'll be able to get our arms around other forms of illegal immigration.
Ms. Barnett.
Yes, before I answer your question, Greta, allow me to say with McCormick once more that that he created within the World Economic Forum a division to combat what he calls systemic racism. We also know that the World Economic Forum is primarily responsible for these ESG scores, environmental social governance scores that will treat us like China treat their people with social credits. If you're good enough, if you're compliant enough, if you're woke enough, then you may be able to go ride the train today. That is what he's a part of that organization, as well as Mehmet Oz. As it relates to immigration, we not only have legal immigration issues, but we have illegal immigration issues. I think we all know about the illegal immigration issues. So we have to secure the border. We have to do the things that we need to do as far as enforcing remain in Mexico first, safe asylum. But we also have a USCIS immigration issue as well. It is a broken organization that flows up to the Senate, and I will provide that jurisdiction over them.
Thank you, Ms. Barnett. And if you could hold your applause for time purposes, Mr. McCormick, you can respond for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I have no idea what she's talking about.
Well,
so,
it is. We just tweeted it out a few moments ago.
Go ahead,
You can
tweet
see it
away.
yourself.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I've answered the question, and in terms of the border, listen, it's absolutely critical we secure the border. As I've said on my website, I went to the border 6 weeks ago. I have the endorsement of Brandon Judd, who's the president of the Border Patrol Union. And we've got to fix that incentive problem. When people think they can come across, the cartels are in charge. They're exploiting. It's the most exploitive thing I've ever seen. And the fentanyl crisis is right here in Pennsylvania, and it's a disaster. We have to hit that first.
All right, you have probably 30 more seconds because I gave for the reply. You have 30 more seconds on the overstaying visa thought.
Well, listen, the most important thing is to solve the southern border crisis.
Yeah, none of them is going to give you an answer as to what to do on the overstayed visas.
Pennsylvania, we see it in our sanctuary cities, and it's part of a broader woke movement and a liberal extreme set of agendas, which is really creating
It's like they haven't had a solution for overstayed visas ever, and woke is something they've been talking about for 18 months.
In China, It has to be shut down. It comes across the southern border. It's managed by the cartels, and it's killing Pennsylvanians. We have to hit that, and we have to hit that hard.
All right. For our next question, we turn to KDKA radio anchor Rick Dayton.
Greta, thank you. This question is for Ms. Barnett, for Ambassador Sands, as well as for Mr. Bartos. My wife and I have 3 sons. All 3 of them graduated from suburban Pittsburgh high schools. 2 of them chose to attend college here in Pennsylvania. When they were done, it turns out that 2 of them also chose to leave Pennsylvania, leaving just 1 here. They chose to do that because of taxes, quality of life, and other opportunities elsewhere. For Ms. Barnett, Ambassador Sands, and Mr. Bartos, give me specifics. How do we reverse that troubling trend so that our top talent wants to stay here in the Commonwealth and other states that are dwindling in population?
Who first?
Go ahead, please, Ms. Barnett.
Yes. Almost every single problem we face in our country, and Pennsylvania would certainly be a part of that, is as a direct result of 22 years of real income stagnation for the bottom 90% in America. Now, how do we fix that? We get better people in office who can begin to guide our nation in a different direction. But when people primarily vote for Republicans because they believe once we get in office, we will actually go in and solve the root cause of problems.
But they're wrong. That's the thing. They're wrong about it.
Like a pack of hyenas and get nothing done for the people, then the people naturally pivot towards Democrats who won't solve your problem, but they will cut you a check. And that is how we're on this path where we find ourselves on the road to serfdom. So we need to get America First senators in office who will force the Federal Reserve to begin to stabilize the dollar or clarify their mandate to stabilize the U.S. dollar. Stabilizing the dollar raises the bottom 90% income over 90%, doubling it over every generation. That's
crazy. That's bonkers.
Here in
Pennsylvania. All right,
that's a cuckoo moment.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to have more questions for the candidates when we return.
That question was for 3 of them. They let one person not give an answer, and now we're in a commercial. This is I apologize to dogs and for my language, but this is a dog shit debate, guys. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. They don't even, I mean, in many debates, we don't get enough substance. They're not even answering questions. They're like, 3 people get to answer this one. 1 person, we're going to a break now. It's such a pathetic situation. Okay, I want to say thank you. So many of you were signing up for memberships during that first section of the entire thing. Let me thank the following people, because these people are so great. I want to say thank you to Sue Sigrist, as well as Timothy Avery, Scott Greenside, Andrew Kinney, Adam Gingrich, Cindy Nelson, and others. Really appreciate everybody signing up today. You can sign up at joinpacman.com. You can use the coupon code OBAMNA.
Obama.
And who was it we endorsed for that thing?
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, the welcome to anybody's welcome to be a member. Whatever your name is, you're welcome here. And if you'd like a free membership, you can just fill out the very short form at davidpacman.com/free membership. Thank you also to Kind AF, Atale, Milo Wild, Texas Bear Claw, and who else was there here? Manny as well. Really appreciate everybody. Should be here with the Trump rally on Friday, more than likely. And stick around after the debate because we'll be looking at my appearance on the right-wing trigonometry. For now, what we're doing is brigading their comments. Let's just see a few of the comments that you fine folks have left. It looks like hundreds of them. I love how David Pacman is able to counter all questions with facts and not opinions. Nicely done, even misspelling my name to make it all more believable. This David Pacman fellow makes excellent points. That's Andrew Culp. I recognize that name from my audience. Congratulations on getting David Pacman. Thank you, David. Any opportunity to try to talk reason into those with misguided views using facts, logic, science, and empathy is worth taking. Absolutely nothing but productive conversation and discourse from Pacman. What a treat to see him on this show. You guys are great. Pacman's babies are the only ones I wouldn't abort. I think that's a compliment. I don't know. Oh, we're back.
To go there to visit them. They've been there since the 1770s. And as a matter of fact, we would drive through these thriving towns. And then as the decades went on, these towns hollowed out. People moved away because companies and jobs went offshore, largely to Asia. And it has caused a dearth of opportunity for our young people. We have world-class universities in Pennsylvania. We have world-class healthcare. We have the opportunity to harvest the energy in our ground, not just to power our country, but also to make products. We have enough energy under the ground in Pennsylvania to power the entire United States for 300 years.
Could they maybe spell Pennsylvania correctly?
Hope that I will be able to partner with the next Republican governor to create opportunity and unlock the regulations at the federal and the state level so that our kids and our grandkids have that opportunity, that they don't have to leave Pennsylvania to find their future. It will be here. People complain to me.
Mr. Bartos, same question, please.
So I want to return to something that David said before. It's interesting that he wants to talk about different real estate and the pandemic. I spent the entire pandemic in 2020 fighting to save Main Street small businesses. David was hunkered down in Aspen, Colorado at one of his many homes. Now, how did he buy all those homes? He runs an investment fund, or he did until he moved to Pennsylvania a couple months ago to run for the Senate. Investment funds make it on fees. Our Peacer's pension fund that invests money for retired teachers and is paid in by existing teachers and staff in schools across the Commonwealth. His firm failed Pennsylvania seniors. Scott and I, when we campaigned in 2018, we met every week seniors who were struggling to stay in their homes because of property taxes. Firms like David's made $600 million over a decade. Pennsylvania seniors didn't get what they paid for. Indeed, they got screwed. David and his firm got rich. Pennsylvania seniors and all taxpayers got screwed.
Sure.
David, 30 seconds.
Yeah,
David
I grew
McCormick.
up in that Main Street place that everybody here keeps talking about, where there was a carpet mill that was losing jobs. So I know exactly what people are talking about. And then I went and created jobs, 600 jobs here in Pennsylvania. I was part of the firm. I led that. That was a huge part of the success of the revitalization of Pittsburgh. I'm not going to apologize for the success I had. In terms of Peacer's made $4 billion. $4 billion. And this is a story that was planted by Memmon in the New York Times and the teachers' unions. And here's the beauty of it, folks. You can go to the Peacer's website and see the facts for yourself. So this is a good example of things being completely misleading. And Memmon's at the source of it, and Jeff's carrying his water.
We're going to move on to the next. We're going to move on to the next.
Excuse me?
You're carrying Memmon's water.
I'm carrying Memmon's water. Why don't you talk to the state reps who serve on that board, the state treasurer who serves on that board, the very people who fight every day
facts,
to make...
Memmon, $4 billion.
Talk to them.
We've got to move on.
$14 billion short.
$4 billion.
$14 billion short. 2% and 20%.
We've got to move on to the next question.
Substandard returns. I could have gotten better returns in an S&P 500 index fund paying 10 basis points.
So could Trump have instead of doing his real estate.
In the world was drilled in Pennsylvania in 1859. Mr. Bartos, on your website, you support American energy independence. Ambassador Sands, you want to be the energy senator from Pennsylvania. While there is a desire for cheap oil and natural gas, there's also a concern for the environment. Would you support subsidies for green energy development? Ambassador Sands.
You know, it's a loaded question. First of all,
Answer.
I like the 300-year on-ramp to green energy because we know with American innovation that our natural gas here in Pennsylvania...
It'll be 300 years if you deliberately just fund fossil fuels.
...and national security. I'm calling to go back to energy dominance so that we have enough for our country. We don't need to be buying energy from places like Russia, Venezuela, and like Joe Biden's radical administration suggested, Iran. That's blood energy. Instead, we can sell some of our extra energy to our allies and partners in Europe so they don't need to buy Russian gas. We know that we have the capability to do it here in the United States. I'll support all kinds of energy. I am all about energy because we need inexpensive energy. When you're filling your gas tank at the gas station, I want you to think of Carla Sands for the Senate because I'm going to bring that price down.
Right. You're not going to be thinking of electric vehicles when you think about her, that's for sure.
Mr. Bartos.
If we're to have healthy main streets across all 67 counties, the number one thing we can do is unlock Pennsylvania's bounty of God-given energy right under our feet. We're here in Western Pennsylvania. You all know as you drive around the roads here in Western PA how important energy is to everything else. We were in Beaver County just last night. That cracker plant, a $7 billion investment right in Beaver County, is a down payment on the future of Pennsylvania's not only energy industry, but industry in general. We should have 5 of those across the Commonwealth, downstream across all 67 counties. We're seeing in Luzerne County. Tomorrow, the Biden administration can do something. If the president had the guts, instead of declaring war on energy, he could combat inflation and get our energy industry moving again by signing some executive orders. LNG should be shipped till we get the pipelines in, until we get the processing plant there. We need to ship those on rails. The president could do that. The president tomorrow could sign an executive order that frees up exploration way more than he has. The president tomorrow could loosen regulations on permitting. We need a senator in Washington fighting for our energy here in Pennsylvania.
Thank you. KDKA News anchor Rick Dayton has our next question.
We have danced around this a little bit, but let's drill down on it right now. Pennsylvania, like many states, faces a tremendous number of unfunded liabilities, things like pensions for teachers and
guarantee you get no answer to this one.
And for Dr. Oz, please, if elected to the U.S. Senate, what are you going to do in Washington to help states like ours with these significant financial burdens?
Actually, maybe he'll answer.
Dr. Oz, please lead the way.
Well, in this case, we're talking about fraud, abuse, and waste. 20% of property taxes in Pennsylvania are linked to unfunded liabilities from the pension system. And I had an opportunity to deal this week with several representatives from the Property Tax Coalition. Several members of the representatives in Harrisburg were also involved. It's stunning. And I just want to pick up on what Jeff Bartos was saying earlier about David McCormick. Bridgewater, his company, was able to provide services to the pension plan for 10 years. Dave was CEO.
Hey, guys, I hate to interrupt this completely meaningless non-answer. I'm starting to get a huge dump of emails from people telling me that a video has been released of radical Republican Congressman Madison Cawthorn engaged in some kind of sexual homoerotic event with his own cousin. We got to research that very strongly.
These kinds of extra expenses, and Dave McCormick cannot serve as senator. It's disqualifying. If he did that to us before he was elected, before he even moved here, he was making money off us.
Mr. McCormick.
What I think to go to piecers again, go to the public site, folks. You're hearing a lot of misleading information. Not a single pensioner ever lost $1, and what the pensioners bought was consistent. What they got was consistent with what they asked for, which was an insurance policy. So the people of Pennsylvania, the piecers, was well served. What we need in Pennsylvania are pro-growth economic policies. What we need nationally are pro-growth economic policies. We need to lower taxes. We need a governor and a senator that actually understand how to make the economy work. We need to unlock the energy sector. That's a combination of partnership between the senator and the governor, because we need to streamline the pipeline approval process. We need to have an LNG port in Philadelphia. The path to success is unlocking the wonderful opportunity here in Pennsylvania. And you have to have somebody who understands how to do that, someone who understands how to create jobs, someone who understands how to cut through red tape, and someone who has a track record of actually doing it, which I have the most of all of that on this stage.
For our next questions, we're going to ask each of you a question based upon your credentials. We want to know how your experience would lead you as a U.S. Senator to approach
Well, I recommend drinking silver.
yourself with anyone else on the stage. This is about what you would do. You will each have 60 seconds. Question number 1 goes to Mr. Bartos. You work in real estate. COVID has devastated commercial real estate. As a commercial real estate lies empty, it also devastates local businesses such as restaurants. Some cities may never return to their previous occupancy rates. As a U.S. Senator, what would you do to revitalize the commercial real estate industry and the businesses it supports?
Well, as I mentioned once or twice tonight, I spent the pandemic saving small businesses and doing my level best to help Main Street stay on its feet while John Fetterman and the Democrats bulldozed it every chance they got. Now, if we're to have healthy Main Streets, if we're to have healthy communities, if we're to have a healthy Commonwealth, it starts with energy. We've talked about it a bunch tonight. As a United States Senator, my solemn duty to go down there on behalf of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is to fight for our energy industry, to fight for our number one industry, agriculture. We had 2 debates last week, 2.5 hours, not one question about agriculture. Our agriculture community is literally the foundation of this.
So he was asked about real estate, and he's complaining that last debate there weren't questions about agriculture.
I'll be a senator who not only knows and respects our agriculture, but will be a fighter for our family farms. Family farms are truly the backbone of our communities. I'll be fighting for them every day. Energy is important on that. I was down in Greene County a couple days ago. Passing a family farm from the fifth to the sixth generation requires...
It's like they don't even pretend to answer.
Ms. Barnett, on your website, you speak about homeschooling your children. You have concerns with the values taught in the local public schools. Not all parents have the resources to homeschool or send their children to private schools. As a senator, what would you do to make public schools more attractive to parents like yourself? President Reagan wanted to abolish the U.S. Education Department. Do you agree?
I do agree on abolishing the education department. I think they have served their moment of usefulness. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yeah, listen, and I do understand.
Are they all suspicious that their mics are too low? Because they keep mentioning their mic volume.
Below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. But no one ever told me I was a victim. No one ever told me that because I'm black, because I'm a woman, because I'm poor, all the odds are against me. And as a result, I was able to claw my way from underneath the rock to create a different narrative for me and my children, along with my husband. That is the kind of America we need. An America that gives hope to those who find themselves.
You think if they asked, what's your favorite food, they would even answer that?
With all kinds of foolish and non-scientific mandates and regulations. And
I'm against nanny states telling us what to eat. The doctors were wrong when they gave us the food pyramid.
I walk into a room.
Thank you, Dr. Barnett. Thank you, Ms. Barnett. Thank you, Ms. Barnett. Dr. Oz.
Dr. Barnett.
You are a heart surgeon. You have treated thousands of patients. Many drugs and generic components come from China. For example, 40% of the U.S. supply of heparin, a drug to prevent blood clotting, comes from China. Importing drugs from China is less expensive than producing them here. What would you do to make U.S. less dependent on China for these medicines?
China is an existential threat to our country. The reason we have to fix all the other problems we're talking about today on this stage is so that we can protect ourselves against China, who desires for us to fail. And I'll tell you why. They have a surveillance state giving rise to an economy that's viable, and we have a capitalistic economy coming out of democracy. The world wants what we have, but only a third of the world has access to it. So if we don't take back control of our national security from China, we're in trouble. And as a physician who went through COVID and struggled with you guys, there is no question we didn't have PPE. We were intimidated by the Chinese and told that we shouldn't make a big stink about what happened in Wuhan and where the virus came from, or they'd shut down our PPE. I'm talking about plastic masks and simple garb that we should have already on our shores. You mentioned pharmaceuticals, vital medications we could not get access to during the pandemic. We still don't have access to these raw materials because of China as well as India. So we must be serious about this. We have to onshore these businesses. It will also help build viable communities here in Pennsylvania.
Mr. McCormick, you worked as a Deputy National Security Advisor under President George W. Bush. Many believe that our actions in Afghanistan and our response to Ukraine have telegraphed weakness to the world. One country that is watching us is China. China has made its position on Taiwan clear, that it belongs to mainland China. If China should attack Taiwan, would you support sending our military to defend the island?
Well, as someone who's served in the military for almost a decade fighting communist ideology, someone who's served at the highest levels of government, negotiating toe-to-toe with China, someone who's done business globally, a small part of that business in China, just like President Trump, that gives me unique credentials on this particular thing. And no, we shouldn't televise what we're going to do. We should create a lot of lethal support for Taiwan. We should create our own strength in that part of the world to be able to support what actions we need to take. But we need to create uncertainty, strategic uncertainty. And this is an area where I think Mehmet is absolutely compromised, because while I was serving...
They're all clueless about it, quite frankly.
Mehmet was in the Turkish military, and these issues of national security are going to be on the front porch of every U.S. senator going forward. And his connection to Turkey and the fact that he couldn't get a security clearance today is an issue that needs to be discussed in this campaign, and it's a fair issue for him to have to address.
Dr. Oz, 30 seconds.
This is a distraction. There is no issue about national security. And President Trump despite David's earnest efforts to do everything he could to earn his endorsement, was unable to succeed. Instead, President Trump endorsed me, calling me America first. He knows what you should know, which is that I love this country. There is no compromise element here. I will serve this nation as our senator and do a wonderful job identifying all the issues going around the world, in part because I've traveled so much around the world. The show, for example, is in 100 countries. So I've been able to move around and identify opportunities.
Ambassador Sands.
Hey, is the Madison Cawthorn video, is it technically incest? I mean, I don't even know it's such a bizarre story, guys.
Records, sometimes even our key allies. An example would be American Jamal Khashoggi in Saudi Arabia. Going forward, how do we deal with Saudi Arabia and its human rights record?
Saudi.
Well, I think the biggest issue is China, of course. Saudi Arabia is certainly not honoring human rights, but let's look at China, where they have almost 2 million people held in concentration camps where they're torturing and doing terrible things to the Uyghur people and others, including Christians. That's the issue. It's not Saudi Arabia or any of these smaller countries. China's our biggest threat. And that's why Dave McCormick could never be trusted to hold the line on China. He made his billions in China. You don't make billions in communist China without bowing to the Chinese Communist Party. How is he going to investigate China's military aggression or the virus? But Kathy Barnett, she says that she's all this, but as a matter of fact, she used the same playbook 2 years ago and lost in a red wave year by 20 points to a weak Democrat. John Fetterman is not a weak Democrat. He's a strong Democrat, and I will beat John Fetterman in November.
Now to our lightning round.
I'm sorry. She called my name, and she made a statement that is, I know, Greta, I'm so
sorry.
But she did it. So listen.
People wanting to speak are really getting in the way of Greta running the debate.
2020, having won 76% of all of my precincts. And then over the next 3 days, because of unconstitutional mail-in ballots, I ended up losing.
I thought you said unconstitutional melon.
Those particular precincts. Not only did I have that thing happen to me, but President Trump, she said I lost by 20. President Trump lost by more than 26% to an equally weak Democrat, Joe Biden.
Ms. Barnett, thank you.
I had that thing happen to me.
Now to our lightning round. You have 30 seconds. Should we demand China pay reparations for COVID? Mr. McCormick.
Yes, we should demand that China pay reparations for COVID. We lost 1 million Americans and trillions of dollars of value. And we should also have reparations for fentanyl, because the fentanyl is being manufactured in China. That needs to be stopped. And my credentials on fighting China are without question. I have spoken about China 15 years ago about the risk of China. And I'm taking a lot of heat on China here. Mehmet, again, this is a perfect example of the phoniness. If you go to his financial disclosure.
Mehmet's against Chinese food. He won't go near it.
From a deal with Usana,
Mr. McCormick, thank you.
DrOzSleep.com and the Chinese Communist propaganda
Ambassador Sands, the same question.
Absolutely, but as a matter of fact, Mehmet Oz, when the pandemic hit, said we have to follow the Chinese Communist Party example. And the Chinese Communist Party is in control of the WHO. They're corrupt, and they instituted lockdowns. As we know, they're still locking their people down. We have to say, never again will we free people be locked down or accept mandates. We are citizens of the United States, and we have our constitutional rights. Of course, we should ask China, not ask. We should sue in the World Court and get reparations for our loss of life and economy.
Dr. Oz, both candidates mention your name. You have 30 seconds to respond.
To everybody.
You know, China has continually cheated at everything. They embed faculty in our universities. They're able to bribe some of our companies. They are able to gain access to our media. They play with our tech companies. And we have not been serious about the threat they offer. There is no question they owe us reparations. I'd start with the one, I'll just start with the debt that we have to them and the account imbalance. They refuse to.
So if I'm totally serious, if I got to choose and it was one of these 5 people who had to be the next senator, I'd probably go with Bartos.
China. Money is not good or bad, but how you acquire it is up for discussion. And when when we were locked down in 2020, all in this together, Mehmet Oz was inking a deal with a manufacturer in China called DrOzSleep.com, made in China. So now he wants to talk tough and bring those jobs back. But when he had the opportunity to find manufacturing here in America, he went over there. McCormick, you cannot be in bed with China financially and not also ideologically.
Is the Republican Party...
Greta, I don't think I got that. I don't think I got one on that.
No, you'll get a lightning rod question.
Okay, you promise?
Yeah, promise. Is the Republican Party big tent enough for Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Liz Cheney? Ms. Barnett, I'll give you that one first.
Liz Cheney, no. But if we can make room for AOC, clearly we can make room for Marjorie Greene.
Mr. McCormick.
Listen, I go across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I don't see a huge fragmentation in our party. I see Pennsylvanians and Pennsylvania Republicans and conservatives coming together around an America First agenda. They believe.
Wait, there's room for AOC in the GOP?
And they're terrified of the prospect of John Fetterman. Joe Biden has brought the conservative party together, the Republican Party together, and I think our party is going to win in 2022 because of that.
Dr. Oz?
The only thing Joe Biden has built back better is the Republican Party.
The question was about Liz Cheney.
Overtime to give us a reason to unite, but we keep showing up at cultural war knife fights with neatly arranged 3x5 index cards. We have to get into these issues. The liberals are taking over our media. They control much of government. The corporate suites are dominated by their woke ideology in our universities as well. We've got to engage at all levels. We'll need different kinds of people to access these different points.
I've been working for almost 2 decades to support our party around the Commonwealth. Now, for those of you watching at home, these two guys have spent almost $60 million fighting with each other. First of all, by the way, I think you should get your money back because 40% of the electorate is still undecided. But they've spent all this money fighting with each other, and my entire campaign has been about bringing the party together to fight for the people of Pennsylvania, our farmers, our energy industry, Pennsylvania families, and Main Streets, of course, across all 67 counties. That's how we win in November. We cannot trust this seat to two people who parachuted in here and are spending all that money fighting with each other.
Mr. McCormick and Dr. Oz, you have put out negative ads against each other. Do they violate Reagan's 11th commandment, do not speak ill of another Republican? Mr. McCormick.
Well, first, I had ads attacking me before I even announced I was running for office by Mr. Oz, so it was a good welcome to politics. And the ads that have been run against Mehmet
These guys are so dumb.
Wonderfully in Mehmet's own words. So if you call that a negative ad, I don't think so. I think that's a presentation of a set of positions that are completely incongruent with Republican voters. Listen, he's a Hollywood liberal that has held a set of positions that he has flip-flopped on every single one. And
just like Trump.
America first.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick.
And standing on President Trump's shoulders because he can't defend his record.
Dr. Oz.
Desperate Dave, dishonest again. Once again, President Trump endorsed me because he knew that these ads were as vicious towards me and untrue as they were against him, because they're delivered by insiders who are scared of what we represent, which is telling the truth and pushing back hard. I will do that for the very reason President Trump endorsed me. And just so you all know, before I even knew I was in the race, because I hadn't entered yet, I was being attacked by David McCormick. So it goes both ways.
Dr.
I'm a porcupine.
Oz, thank you. Ambassador Sands. Ambassador Sands, when you were ambassador to Denmark.
What an informative debate.
Greenland from Denmark. What did you think about that?
He was the third U.S. president to make that suggestion, and I thought it was an awesome idea because he's a deal guy, and we know Denmark can't afford to develop or defend Greenland. But as a matter of fact, I just want to refer you to the men on each side of me. They have both flip-flopped, and we know we want to send an America First senator to Washington, not a squish, because we know that's how we're losing our country to the radical left, because the Democrat Party of today is not the Democrat Party of our childhood. It's not the party of JFK.
Ambassador, thank you very
much.
AOC
and Bernie Sanders, and they're radical socialists.
Ms. Barnett, you are an African-American conservative woman. 87% of African-American women vote Democrat. What is your outreach to them?
Yes, it is true. I'm black. And I've been black all my life. Fact check it. Listen, black people are not special little unicorns. We want what everyone else wants. We want good schools. We want safe streets. We want good jobs. We don't want liquor stores on every street corner. The problem is in the Republican Party, for good or bad, we have the best story to tell. The problem is we keep picking people who suck at telling it.
Thank you, Ms. Barnett. Now it's time.
Globalish.
Now it's time for our candidates to give closing remarks.
Closing.
You each have 1 minute. We start with Mr. McCormick.
We've learned nothing.
Closing remarks, 1 minute.
Please proceed. Listen, I'm running to save America, the America I love, from slipping away. The weak policies and the wokeness of Joe Biden is killing our economy, inflation, our energy sector. It's poisoning our kids with fentanyl, and it's putting America at risk. I grew up in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, playing sports, wrestling, and football in Shikellamy and Shikshinny and Selinsgrove. I went to West Point. I served in the 82nd. I went to Iraq. And then I had a great, successful business career. Sure. Everything you need to know about me happened in those first 28 years. The Judeo-Christian values and the Pennsylvania values I learned in Bloomsburg from my parents. The duty, honor, country I learned at West Point. The exceptional America that I saw firsthand in the 82nd Airborne Division. I'm a battle-tested Pennsylvania true. I've been America first my entire life. I know how to lead, I know how to fight, I know how to win, and it would be a great honor and privilege to go fight on behalf of all of us in Washington as the senator from Pennsylvania.
Ms. Barnett, your closing argument, closing statement.
I am you, Pennsylvania. And like you, I believe this is the greatest country that has ever existed. But like you, I believe our country is in trouble. I believe that the America that allowed me to claw my way out of dire poverty is about to come to a close. Listen, this time you do not have to hold your nose and vote for the lesser of two evils. I am in a statistical tie for first place, so voting for me is not throwing your vote away.
Well, she's down like 5, isn't she?
Kathy Barnett for Senate. And you will see exactly what I'm doing today that I will amp up tomorrow after this race. I have been going in, you will see me in rooms full of black people, changing their voter registration from Democrat to Republican. You will see me downtown in Chinatown. They are mine. You will see people ushering me in front of a room full of Amish people with them introducing me as someone with their values. Not only do I have
like a tie,
grasp on our own base, but I can go into every nook and cranny and take the votes that we need in order to really beat Fetterman in the general election. So let's go do this.
Mr. Bartos, you've been shortchanged a little on the time. We'll give you 1:30, but from the 30, would you answer what you're going to do about the polls between now and May 17th and your closing statement?
About the polls?
About the polls what are you going to do to get your numbers
You mean the
up?
election polls and not the Polish people are helping the
That's
Ukrainians,
right,
right?
that's right.
Okay, I just want to,
Voters.
okay. Just
What
want to
the
check
hell?
there.
Honestly, they're not treating this guy very well. I'm not going to lie.
I'm a proud son of Reading, Pennsylvania. And my hometown of Reading is hurting. And dozens of towns and cities across Pennsylvania are hurting just like Reading. Because for too long, career politicians in Washington simply didn't care about Main Street, Pennsylvania. This campaign has never been about me. We in Pennsylvania have been polluted with $60+ million of advertising to get to a place where 40% of our electorate, and maybe more, are undecided. Ask yourself why. Because the people of Pennsylvania are smart. They're smart enough to not buy the nonsense they see on TV, and they're smart enough to know that John Fetterman knows this state. They know that he knows this state because he spent...
Did he genuinely think he was being asked, what are you going to do about Polish people?
Cannot trust this seat to out-of-staters who moved here a mere months ago. I humbly ask for your vote on May 17th. I'd be honored to serve this great Commonwealth and all of you. I will go to Washington and fight for you and your families. You can trust me to do that. It's what I've spent my career doing. I didn't just move here for an opportunity. I will go to Washington and fight for our conservative Pennsylvania values. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here this evening. May 17th, Jeff Bartos for United States Senate.
Ambassador Sands, your 1 minute closing.
Yes, first of all, of everyone on this stage, I have the highest proportion of African-American support because African-American families they want opportunity for their kids and grandkids, and that's what I offer. You know, I'm Carla Sands, and I'm running for the United States Senate, and I need your help. I have a website, carlasands.com. Please sign up and volunteer and help our campaign. I'm humbly asking for your vote on May 17th. I want to make a pledge to you. I pledge that I will be a faith-filled person in the Senate representing you. I pledge that I'll take my business experience, my foreign policy experience, trade policy, and defense policy experience to the Senate. And I will fight for your Pennsylvania values every day, and I will put America first every single day. I want to thank you. I want to just let you know that I appreciate every one of you who will vote for me on May 17th, and I will not let you down.
Dr. Oz.
She seems super confused.
I've been pushing back against orthodoxy my entire career. I developed the devices we fix heart valves with without having to open the chest. On television, I took on Big Pharma when I thought they weren't doing the right thing. Took on big agrochemical companies when they were developing pesticides that could be dangerous. I took on big tech for a lot of reasons, years before the rest of the world woke up to what they were doing. And I took on the US government. I fought in the big stage network television. I know how to do it. I've got the scars to prove it. I cannot be bought. Now, having done all that, I have the wisdom and what it takes to have a bold, loud voice in Washington. The reason President Trump endorsed me, and he gave a lot, was that he knew I would win in November. He felt I was the most capable of doing what we have to do as a party, carry populations that have forgotten about us, they haven't heard our wisdom. I am confident that if I am honored with your votes, I will be able to do exactly what he promised I would do, which is to be smart, tough, and never let you down.
We've come to the end of tonight's debate. Thank you to all the candidates for their time. Thank you to the audience for their respectful participation. And a big thank you to Grove City College for their incredible support hosting tonight's event. Good night.
The worst debate that I've ever seen, for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's, yeah. Yeah, it really is that type of a situation. Just absolutely and completely horrifying. And maybe Trump will be able to figure out who he endorsed.
We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
Okay, let's get now to my interview with the right-wing trigonometry. Let's pick it up. Oh, I don't know. We did Biden administration. Okay, yeah, let's pick it up where we were and listen.
Operations could have gone better. Do you think that's...
Okay, hold on.
When Trump was given... that was a quagmire. No, listen, I mean,
I think we were here.
Identify anything that changed materially. Is that fair?
What I would say is I think some progress was made in a very difficult situation. I don't claim that the situation became dramatically different and we are now like way towards a solution. And also, I think I'd also concede that it's not an issue I know enough about to have a proper discussion with you as well.
That's fair. We can table it on that basis. No, listen, I mean, as far as Joe Biden's not exciting to me. You know, I'm a progressive social democrat, so Joe Biden's not exciting. He did some good things. So he did a third COVID stimulus at a time that I think it was necessary, extended a pause on student loans, got a pretty good infrastructure bill passed, got us out of Afghanistan, which I think was a great thing. I think that was a quagmire.
Do you?
Oh my God. I mean, we were there 21 years.
No, I agree with you with the quagmire point, but did you feel that the way that was done went well?
I think it went as well as it would have gone no matter who did it.
Wow. Interesting.
I mean, when Trump was asked, what would you have done differently? And he literally couldn't articulate a single difference. So at least Trump was going to do it. And another failed promise. Biden did it. And when Trump was given the opportunity to articulate how he would have handled it differently, he couldn't name a single difference. So let me put it in the most factual way possible. I've not heard Trump explain what would have gone differently. And therefore, I have no basis on which to assume it would have. Is that fair?
I suppose it is. The question for me is, I mean, I struggle to imagine it going any worse. So I kind of feel like there is a possibility that the preparations could have gone better. Do you think that's unfair?
I have a struggle to imagine it could have gone better. So like, I think where I land is it went the way I expected, you know, and it was correct ultimately to get out.
Okay. Please carry on. I interrupted you. Biden. We're talking about whether you're happy with the Biden presidency.
Yeah, I mean,
basically.
it's like, listen, he's doing exactly what I expected. You know, I didn't expect him to do anything on cannabis decriminalization, and he's not. And I didn't expect any, at least in the first 2 years, immigration reform, and we're not getting it. So, you know, I try not to become jaded or cynical, but basically I've seen from Biden exactly what I expected.
Okay. You mentioned Trump being a humiliation. And look, you know, neither Francis or I were pro-Trump. I thought he raised some important issues, by the way, you know, and immigration not being least of those. We can have a conversation about that maybe later on. But if Trump was a humiliation, perhaps in the way that he talked, and you mentioned some of the promises that he didn't deliver on, the optics of the Biden presidency, do they not make you cringe somewhat when he's shaking hands in midair with people who aren't there and forgetting things and all of that?
Beautiful. So are you guys open to a good faith conversation about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go piece by piece. Does Joe Biden sometimes lose his train of thought? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And he's close to 80 years old. If you compare Joe Biden today to Joe Biden when he ran circles around Paul Ryan in 2012, it's not the same guy. I have no problem saying that that's absolutely the case. No argument whatsoever. The shaking hands with midair video was a total joke. And I'll tell you the story about it. The weekend that story, you know, the shaking hands with midair went, I looked at the clip on my phone, and it was a very short clip where you just see Biden stop speaking. He turns to the side and he goes like this. I said, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Biden, he seems worse than Trump when Trump came off of his plane and his car was right in front of him, and Trump wandered off and was brought back by the arm by a Secret Service agent, and they said, here's your car. That's worse than when Trump had Rudy Giuliani sitting right across the table and said, where's Rudy?
And maybe I'll ask Rudy to say a few words.
Well, thank you very, very much, Mr. President. First of all, congratulations on what is in fact a historic start of an administration. I've never seen so much done in so short a period of time.
Hey, you know what? Good for them for putting the clips in, though, right? I mean, like, good for them for putting the clips in. We have to give them credit for that.
That Biden clip looked bad. And I was going to report, like, guys, something seems wrong with Joe Biden. And then I found like the actual full frame instead of the square Twitter video. And you could see what happened after. And Joe Biden had people to his right and to his back right and to his back. And he literally finished the speech and turned and said something to the people to the right. And then he turns back and he does the exact same thing. And then to the other side and does the exact same thing. So that was a non-story for me. It was a complete non-story.
I hear you.
Yeah,
David, I haven't done enough research, and I'll admit it readily that I don't know whether that's accurate, but I'm happy for the purpose of this discussion to accept that.
Fair.
But would you accept that Joe Biden mentally is not at his peak? I think you already have.
I already have, yeah.
So is that not a humiliation?
Well, when I say a humiliation, I go by what is global opinion of the United States. That's because I'm one guy, right? And so so I want to say, what does the world think? And we know, because of global Gallup studies and global Pew studies and others, that opinion of the United States as a country, of the US's ability to lead, of the president of the United States, it was in the toilet, to use a phrase Trump likes, you know, to flush 10 or 15 times. Opinion was in the toilet under Trump, and it has recovered dramatically under Biden. So I try to take myself out of it and just say, what does the world think? And there's a couple of exceptions. Russia liked Trump better than Biden. Again, this is not rhetorical. It's just the opinion polls. Russia did like Trump better than Biden. I think Turkey liked Trump better than Biden. And for this may be wrong, but I think I have Nigeria in my mind, liked Trump better than Biden. But other than that, empirically, our global reputation has recovered dramatically under Biden. So that's my standard that I use.
Hey, Konstantin, do you like
Okay, now we're going to an ad. Let's see how it all continued. I guess it's the next section.
And do you not think that the problem with Trump was never the problem, he was a symptom of the problem, which is that a large part of working classes, and the Rust Belt in particular, felt alienated by the Democrats. They felt they weren't being represented by them. And that's why they voted, which shows that there is a real problem amongst that part of the left, that they can't connect with the working classes because the working classes
If you're just joining us, this is an interview on the right-wing channel Triggernometry, and it's getting flooded with comments antagonizing me. So we've been brigading the video and leaving like comically positive comments.
Feel that they have their best interests at heart.
So I would say a couple different things. I would say there is absolutely a problem with the Democratic Party, that it is not doing enough for the working class. I'm not a Democrat. I don't care about the party. I gladly concede that. What I see as the problem with Trump is more, I agree with the idea that Trump was a symptom rather than the problem. But for me, the problem was, if Trump doesn't have people who fall for his obviously false promises and complete lack of understanding of any issue, if people don't fall for that, Trump's the crazy guy yelling in the New York subway, right? The danger comes from the fact that in the United States, there are so many people who are either...
Here they go like, are you suggesting that a lot of Trump followers are stupid? And I'm like, yeah, they were like,
not engaged with politics at all, that when a celebrity pops up, they go, that sounds kind of good. I know who Trump is. Or they're so... they lack knowledge of issues to such a degree that when they hear Trump say, I'm going to fix trade by putting tariffs on China, and Trump doesn't even understand that it's American companies that pay the tariffs. And Trump starts saying, look at how much we charge China. And then his followers go, we charge China so much. And it's like, guys, it's the American companies that pay the tariffs. So when people don't understand stuff, they fall for people like Trump. And that, to me, is the problem, because without the cult members, you don't become a cult leader. You need followers to be a cult leader. And so I agree with you that Trump is emblematic as a symptom rather than actually being the problem. But my perspective is a little bit different as to why.
David, can I, in the spirit of a very...
This is the best.
Good faith but honest conversation,
please,
can I feed back to you what it sounds like you just said from where I'm sitting?
Yes.
Which is... Francis was saying to you, there's a large portion of the American public who are so alienated by some of the rhetoric on the left that they had to resort to voting for Donald Trump. That's his argument. And what you said is, no, that isn't really the problem. The problem is Americans are ill-educated and quite stupid and fall for Trump's bombastic statements. That's what it sounds like. Did I hear you right?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
Now, here's one thing about...
But isn't that... Sorry, David, just to finish this point. Isn't that always the case, though? I mean, it's not like the public got massively more stupid and ill-educated in the last 4 years, right? Or the last 6 years. So, people have always... There's always been...
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how much you follow American education, but I think... let me put it this way. It's beyond me to deeply dive into that specific niche of this discussion, but I think there are many who would make the case that actually the American public on average has become less educated over time.
Okay, let's...
I regret using the term educated because technically more and more people are getting degrees, but I think what I meant to say was just more ignorant.
With that, but wouldn't you accept that these movements, these right-wing populist movements, we also had this here in the UK with Brexit, and it's an issue that probably I don't want to assume, but you may know less about it than we do, and certainly we would say in this country that the same arguments were made, these are stupid, racists, whatever people, but actually if you speak to a lot of people who voted this way, which we didn't, neither of us did, but if you speak to those people, their concerns were not based around ill education or whatever, but it was there were some issues that they were raising that were not being reflected in the public debate, that were dismissed, and certainly from our perspective, it seemed like there were some parallels with the United States. So it's not that people got more stupid or less educated. It's more that their concerns were being more and more ignored by the left-wing parties, and they were desperate for some kind of way out, which is why they voted for Brexit and which is why they voted for Trump.
That's absolutely valid, and I have no qualms with that's what took place. I think the reason I'm skeptical to accept that the reason for Trump was that Democrats have abandoned the middle class is that more Democrats crossed party lines to vote for John McCain in 2008 than the number that crossed party lines to vote for Trump in 2016. And so I hesitate to say that that was the particular reason because the numbers don't bear it out.
No,
I
but
believe it. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but the thing is, you said yourself what Trump did and what Brexit did is it brought a lot of non-voters out of the shadows, if you like. So,
exactly.
So what actually happened is these people who stopped voting for the Democrats and for Labour years and years ago because they felt like these parties stopped representing them. We have a Labour Party here in the UK that stopped representing working people, they would argue, a long, long time ago. And finally, a movement came along that actually represented them. So it's not the McCain Democrats we're talking about here. We're talking about people who are non-voters for decades, perhaps, who are now back in the fold because they're finally seeing someone represent their views. That's the argument.
So that's an empirical question, which I don't have the data in front of me to say. I've not seen any data that suggests that 20 years inactive Democrats are who came out to vote for Trump.
It's like a super specific claim. Neither one of us really had the backing to say that.
You're making that assertion. I can't deny that that happened. I've just seen no evidence. And unfortunately, without the data, it's hard to engage with it any further.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So, David, what do you think as a person or as on the left when it comes to globalization? Because in many ways you could argue that globalization is a positive. You know, we get things, goods cheaper, etc., etc. But also as well,
I get the sense that whenever one of the guys is doing the asking, the other seems kind of like annoyed that they're even talking to me.
Well, it means that we don't produce enough at home. We've lost our manufacturing bases. You know, and that means that you then have towns which become disenfranchised because they have no factories, manufacturing, etc., etc., and then creates the types of areas that will vote for a right-wing populist such as Trump.
Yeah, I am basically with you 95% with what you just said. The last piece, and it logically leads to people voting for Trump. Let's put that aside for now, at least, and maybe we can come back to that. So my view on globalization is as follows. You know, generally speaking, I am in favor of specialization. You know, at a basic economics, macroeconomic level, I understand the reason why we would have circumstances where one country doesn't just produce everything. You know, there's trade. I believe trade is a net positive. I believe specialization is a net positive. I think the problem I have with a lot of the conversation about domestic versus import when it comes to a number of different products, services, industries is that there's a sort of naivete where both Republicans and Democrats in the United States love to say, we're going to bring it back home. It's going to be made in the USA. We're going to bring it here. We're going to be independent, this type of thing. And the truth is that through cumulative economic policy decisions over 30 or even 40 years, dating back to, you know, Ronald Reagan, the United States has chosen, and I mean chosen, again, not one person didn't decide this, but the cumulative effect of decisions has been, we would rather get stuff from other countries and be able to buy it for less in the United States, rather than manufacturing here. And maybe this would create some jobs, but everything would be a lot more money. So I often say, you know, cheap tchotchkes from China are a really important thing in the American economy. And so when Trump would say, we're going to make it all domestically, or when Biden says we're going to make it all domestically, number one, these are like multi-decade projects to change supply chains on a lot of these things. And there's not sort of like a just upfront thing where like, everything's going to cost more. And most Americans don't want that because, you know, half of Americans can't afford an unexpected $400 expense.
All right. So I don't know that we're going to watch the whole thing. Let's go to we get into the trans stuff, which is kind of interesting. Let's see.
Can I, it's a dick move to ask you this, but can I ask you to define a woman? Is that okay?
Yeah, so listen, I mean, I did a whole thing with this right-wing guy named Michael Knowles a little while ago.
Okay.
Where, we were talking about the definition of a woman, and the context was the Ketanji Brown Jackson hearings and her refusal to answer. And there I argued that makes perfect sense because they're asking in a legal context, the question is who can bring a discrimination lawsuit on the basis of gender? And I thought she was right not to answer it. And I made the point that depending on where you're asking the question, the answer could actually be different. Now, I'm glad to give my view of this socially, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
This is, again, and the problem with this, and I know you guys would never do this because you seem so honest. The problem is that sometimes this question is then used to put someone in a corner. So I will say in advance that the definition I have will not work in every setting, okay? Like, for example, the definition I have in an OBGYN's office may not work because we recognize biological differences, right? But for me, the broadest way where I think about who am I going to relate to as a woman, it would be somebody who I identify as deliberately trying to exist in the world as a woman. And so if I see a biological man who, and again, we have to talk about this in candid ways, which some people might not like, but I think it's necessary. If I see me with a wig on, it's not going to be apparent to me that that's someone who is necessarily trying to exist in the world as a woman if they go by the name David and their voice is like mine and they dress like me. So I'm just going to make the best faith effort I can where if it's indicated through a number of different cues that someone is trying to exist in the world as a woman, I'll relate to them as a woman. That's fine. It just doesn't bother me.
Oh, sure. And in fact, I am kind of where you are in the sense that we've had a shit ton of trans people on the show and we call them by whatever name they have and the pronouns that they've chosen, right? I've got no issue with that. Sure. However, my issue is that and again, this is me being straight with you. I hope you don't take offense to what I'm saying.
Please.
In your refusal to give a definition that is equally applicable in different circumstances, you're kind of avoiding the difficult elements of this, right?
Well, the difficult elements are exactly that, which sorry, I interrupted. No, go ahead.
I know you know where I'm going, but let me just give the example so people know what we're talking about. So we have a number of cases here in the UK, for example, and I know you've had some in the US as well, where a trans woman who still has a male anatomy has been housed in a female prison and has gone on to commit sexual assault against women in prison. Right. Okay. We obviously have had trans women in female sports where they, in my opinion, have an unfair advantage. And there are other situations in which our failure to give a clear, universal definition means that women in particular, in this very instance, are suffering the consequences of our social unwillingness to be quite hardline about it. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's what in a court they would say that's a compound question, and we've really got to break down each of those because whether I agree with everything you said, I don't know. So let's. I'm not even sure where to start. So okay, I mean, in prison there was a sexual assault by a biological male housed with women. Okay, I don't know the story. We have a country of 331 million in the United States, so you can find examples sort of everything. Sexual assault by biological females of other females in American prisons is really common. So for me, what I go to is less about, trans people, I think are 1/3 of 1% of the population in the US. I may be slightly off about that, but let's use that as a working number. For me, every assault is bad. Sure. And the bigger issue is American prisons are terrible at keeping inmates safe. And I apply that to men's prisons and women's prisons. it's
Sure,
less.
but you're deflecting here, aren't you?
I don't. Well, but no, I don't think. And so, but let me go further.
Let me give you the reverse of your argument, right?
No, but I wasn't even done.
Cops shooting black people is bad, but the real problem is something else, and we shouldn't talk about the cops.
See, I didn't handle this correctly. I should have said the problem is those aren't the same, because my solution solves the problem you're talking about, right? If we solve violence in prison, we solve the problem that they're talking about. Whereas the deflection he uses as an example, and I didn't realize it in the moment, solving, as he says, black people, if we solve cops shooting black people, that doesn't have anything to do with his issue of black people shooting black people. So it was actually a terrible analogy, and it got over my head at the time.
Shooting black people.
No,
that's
no,
kind of what it
that's
sounds
not
like.
the argument I'm making whatsoever.
Okay, sure, go ahead. Sorry.
So the point that I'm making is because what you're saying is I guess it depends on what you say the other issue really is. That you didn't get to the end of that, and so I don't know.
Black on black crime. That's the right wing argument. Black on black crime is the real thing. Forget about cops shooting black people.
Right,
it's
but
all
those
about
are
black
totally
people shooting each
different
other.
things. What I'm saying is violence in prison is a major
Okay,
problem.
so I kind of didn't make the point as well as I would have liked to.
Problem. And I don't deny that an added layer of complexity is in which prison should a trans person be. I don't pretend to have the answer in all cases. I don't pretend to have the answer. I'm conceding it's very complicated. But
is it complicated? If you have a penis, should you be in a female prison?
Well, but not everybody who's a trans woman has a penis.
But these people did, and they were in female prisons both in your country and in ours.
I just don't know the case. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Should a person with a penis, though, be in a female prison?
It's. I would have to know more about how these decisions are being made. I don't know enough about how the decisions are made to be able to say.
So
listen. Let me put it a different way. And I don't know if anecdotes. We're both being so anecdotal that I don't know if this is even useful. But there are many instances where I could show you a picture of someone and describe their height and weight to you, and it would be very hard to argue that they should be in a men's prison for their own safety.
I'm not arguing for that. We've had trans people on the show who say we need to make provisions so that trans people are in a separate facility where they're going to be safe from males who otherwise would potentially be a danger to them, right?
So there's like a third prison for trans people.
That's what some people have argued on our shows. I'm not saying you take someone who identifies as a trans woman and you stick them with men, because I don't think it would end well for them. So I don't lack compassion. What I'm trying to get at with you is, do you envisage circumstances under which it is right to put a person with a penis in a female prison?
I can envisage theoretical circumstances where it's the best of the options that are available. Yeah, I mean, right now there are no third prisons for trans people, and so if you say to me, what is more like? I mean, like, listen, let's just be very upfront. If you have a trans woman that is biologically male and has a penis, but is slight in size and has a very feminine appearance, by all statistical likelihood, they are far less likely to assault someone in a women's prison than they are to be assaulted in a men's prison. And so that's a particular case where I would say it makes sense for them to be in a women's prison, yes.
Okay. We could go around for hours, but look.
All of a sudden, we've spent too much time on this, guys.
Before we move on, in the situation I outlined, do you concede that it makes more sense for them to be if the only two options are a men's or women's prison, would a 5'3" biological male with a penis who is outwardly feminine and is seen by the average person as a woman, you're not going to put them in the men's prison, are you?
I think it'd be very dangerous to do so.
Fair. So we agree on that. That's fair.
All of a sudden, he's saying, in the two choices we have, all of a sudden, the penis should go in the women's prison. Wow.
Well, we don't agree on that, because I don't think either of those options is acceptable.
Right. He wants a third option, but that wasn't the issue at hand.
And we should look for a solution rather than going.
I would love another solution, but it seems like we agree that given the two current options, we are on the same page.
No, I just think both of those options are completely unacceptable to me. And I think we need a third solution. And that's why I feel strongly about it. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. But it sounds like before you realized it might not look great to concede it, that you agreed in the two options we have now, the female prison makes more sense.
I think this is where I'm going to do a David Pacman and go, I think it depends on the individual circumstances.
Beautiful.
For example,
That's what I'm saying.
If this person is in prison because of sexual assault against women, I don't know that is the right choice, personally.
Okay. I mean, maybe in that case, they would be, we're now getting so in the weeds, but that's a case where they might be in solitary confinement anyway in that situation. Now we're really getting too narrow, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, KK. All right. So anyway, that's as far as we're going to go with it today. But it was fun to do, and I guess they don't want me posting the entire thing on my channel, which is funny because it would probably get hundreds of thousands of views on my channel. But they seem to kind of be against it. I would love to do it. Let's look at some of the comments you guys have left here. David Pacman is authentically. These comments are so positive from you guys that to us, to our community, they're obviously a joke. David Pacman is authentically concerned about the truth and the welfare of all, and I can't think of two things more worthy of prioritization. The way he carefully unpacks arguments is beautiful and so appreciated. Let's see. David was spot on. Wow. But there's still a lot of negative stuff. You know, their audience does not like me. I'm not a good faith debater. David, you parrot big tech, big media. David is such a well-spoken guy. Thanks for bringing him on. It gets a bit boring to hear you guys talk out of your asses. That's pretty good. Oh, look at this. Weird. There were literally no positive comments about Pacman, and then loads appear out of nowhere, all gushing about how great he is. Reminds me of, wait, do I have it here? Oh, no, I don't know if I have it.
It's a fraud.
Exactly.
They call them dumps.
Yep. So they seem to be figuring out what's going on. You guys have to do better research when dealing with very slippery and fact-orientated characters like Pacman. That's genius. Look at that. You have it's an insult, but it's praise. You have to do better research when dealing with very slippery and fact-orientated, which, by the way, I think they mean fact-oriented characters like Pacman. Yeah. David Parkman did an amazing job bringing fact and level-headedness. All the misspelled praise is also interesting. Pacman is like a real-time fact-checker. Have him on more often. Pacman is an as studious, knowledgeable, and articulate just as we could have wanted. Anyway, so I think the comment bombs have probably been noticed at this point in time. Thank you to Rubbin' Your Rhubarb for the Twitch Prime subscription. I want to say thanks to Jan Martin Maj, Matthew Rumor, and Trollman Peralta for the 3 gifted subscriptions. Those with peace and love I am now gifting to the following people: Joan Dean, Alyssa Dukar, and Ernie Kovac. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate everybody's support. That is going to do it for me today. We did the debate, we did the trigonometry, and I'll see everybody very soon. What else is there to say? Are we off? We're off, right?
Congratulations, sir. You just won the election.
Oh, okay. Now we're off.